Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here. Welcome back to the channel and another bike review on what is an absolutely beautiful spring day. Glorious to be out riding on a day like this. Just in a light jacket, not all trussed up in all the winter kit. Thank goodness, riding season is back upon us. Absolutely brilliant. And the other great news is that I'm riding a bike that I've been keen to ride ever since it was announced last year. This bike has been out in India for a little while, but it's only just come to the UK. This is the brand new for 2022 Royal Enfield Scram 411, and I'm very lucky to be one of the first UK vloggers, for want of a better word, to actually get one of these bikes officially from Royal Enfield as the press bike for a few days to borrow. And this is my first ride on the machine, so stick around and stay tuned if you're interested in the Scram 411. I'll tell you what I think of it. Alrighty, so as ever, first thing when you jump on a new bike, it's all about how does it feel in terms of its comfort and its riding position, isn't it? Well, this bike is described by Royal Enfield as a, I think they describe it as an ADV scrambler crossover, something like that. It's a bit of a strange category because it's very much based on the Himalayan platform. It's got the same engine as the Himalayan. I think it's got the same frame. Slightly different geometry, because the big change for this bike, other than the aesthetics, which are brilliant by the way, the big change is the front wheel on this. It's got a smaller front wheel. I had the 21 inch on the Himalayan, this one's got the 19. So this makes this a little bit more road focused. So it should improve the handling on the road. And so far the handling seems fine, I have to say. More of that in a minute. But first off, yeah, that comfort factor, well, it's got a nice low seat on it. We'll go through the spec in a minute. But the seat is really comfy. Handlebar's nice and upright. I'm sat in a bolt upright position. My legs, a little bit of a acute angle, nothing too much though, but a really comfortable place to be. So from a comfort point of view, it's brilliant. That's all well and good. Before we get too carried away with what the bike's like to ride, let me show you around it. Let me show you the design of this bike, which I think is brilliant. Alright, let's take a look at the Scram 411 then, shall we, in a bit of detail at the design of the bike. I think this bike looks absolutely brilliant. Now, I didn't much care for the Himalayan before, it's just a bit too utilitarian for me, whereas this, given it's based on basically the same bike, it's incredible how they've changed it. I mean, obviously they've changed fairings, they've changed the paint schemes, new, different exhaust, different cowling on the front and so on, and I think it just makes the bike really look handsome. I think it now is a nice looking machine. Let's look a bit closer at some of the detail then. First off, this cowling on here, I really like that. That sort of harks back to Royal Enfields of the past. Royal Enfields have always had cowlings on, so I guess it made sense for the Scram 411 to have one as well. I love this little bit of detail here, the Royal Enfield logo tucked up underneath it. Normal halogen light on here, by the way. Nice big mudguard, plastic this, but nice finish on that. And I do like the gated suspension as well on here. I love this little touch here that says Royal Enfield, as you can well read. I just think that looks nice, and the shape of the tank with the 411 looks great. The 411, by the way, refers to the CC of the bike. We'll go through the spec a bit later. Again, these side panels look good. A couple of things I'm a little bit disappointed about on the bike though, in terms of fit and finish. Check out the welds on here. These just look a little bit spattered, a bit bird poo to me, a bit like pigeon poo. They're not the best Royal Enfield welds I've ever seen. Given this is a Harris Performance designed frame, I'm surprised about that. Clearly it's not made by Harris Performance. I imagine this is mass produced in India, and a little bit disappointing. They're not as good as the welds on my Enfield Interceptor, for example. I've taken a couple of pictures of them to show you here. So if you compare the Scram welds against the Interceptor welds, you can see they're just not quite the same quality. The other thing I'm not too sure about on the fit and finish on the bike is the exhaust. I do like the look of this, but if you look at it in the sunlight, can you see it's got a sort of a bronzy hue to it already, as if it might be about to go rusty. And in fact, down here again, I took a picture, there's a little bit of a rust spot just occurring down there on the exhaust already. Given this is a brand new bike, not sure how that's going to hold up. It looks like the, you know, this hasn't got any sort of finish on it. It's just been ground. You can see the grinding marks, or where it's been rubbed with emery cloth or whatever, and I just wonder whether that's going to go very rusty very quickly. The finish on the engine is lovely. This black seems to be hard wearing. I think that's going to be fine, but the welds, thumbs down, and a thumbs down for the finish on the exhaust. But other than that, the bike is really nicely made. It's a shame they let down what is otherwise what feels like a quality bike. The seat on here, beautifully made, lovely and comfortable. One of the better seats I've seen on a bike. There's nothing else about the bike appears cheap. I really like the way they've done the dash on here as well. You've got the little tripper device that I've had some trouble actually getting to work this time around. More of that later. And the speedo's nice and clear. It's got everything you need. When you turn it on, this is what you get. It's got an LCD internal bit with all your trip counters and so on. Got a gear position indicator, proper fuel gauge, I'm glad to say, and it's very clear to read as well. So that's all good. Mirrors a little bit stalky, I think, but yeah, the overall look of the bike really nice. Like the bits of yellow on the wheels as well. All right, that's enough about what it looks like. Purely a subjective thing. You decide whether you like the look of it or not. Let's get back on it and ride it some more.
All right, welcome back aboard the bike. So much for what she looks like then. How does she ride? Well, down this bumpy back road, I have to say the suspension is a little bit bouncy, and it's quite easy for it to get away from you. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of the Himalayan, actually. Don't get me wrong, it was a purposeful bike and rustic, and lots of people really loved it. And there's no doubt it's sort of stood the test of time since it was launched in, I think, 2016, all those years ago. Seems newer than that to me, but there we go. But this bike feels, even though it's got the same engine, it just feels a little bit more lively. I don't know if it's because it's got a better engine note from that exhaust or what. I believe it's got a different engine tune on the ECU. Maybe for newer emission standards, I don't know. But to me, it just feels a little bit more peppy than the Himalayan did. I found the Himalayan just a little bit, well, tiresome. This is less tiresome. Right, nothing behind me. Let me just try the brakes out. Front brake. You have to give it a fair squeeze, but it works fine. Let's try it again. Yeah, you describe it as progressive. It's not grabby, so that's fine. Rear brake works absolutely fine. Actually, one of the better rear brakes I've come across. Often rear brakes don't do much, do they? But that one works absolutely fine. What you're looking at here on the bike is all very nice in the riding position. Switch gear and everything works really nicely. Good tactile feedback, nice and firm when you press the buttons, but it does feel maybe a little bit cheap, but not too bad. And I like what you're looking at here. We've already talked a bit about the instrumentation on the bike, and when you're actually sat riding it, it's all very clear to read. I like the fact there's nothing pretentious about that main instrument dial here. You can clearly see what speed you're doing. It's even got a gear position indicator and a proper fuel gauge. Got everything you need there. And I do love that, the inclusion of the little tripper device as well, even though I've struggled today to actually get that to work, probably due to user error. I've used it before on other Royal Enfields and it's been an absolute breeze to use. For some reason I just couldn't get my account to log in. It kept resending me a new password and all that, but it just wouldn't let me in, so bit of a pain that. But when it does work, it's a brilliant system. As I say, that's probably my problem. Mirrors on here work absolutely fine. Don't like the looks of them. These are what I call the Royal Enfield Mickey Mouse ones. I would definitely swap those out with either the Enfield standard. Oh, I've got a closed road here. I was ignoring the signs and hoping for the best. That's what always happens, isn't it? Alright, alternative route required. Chance to chest the turning circle, which is nice and tight actually. Where was I? Yes, the mirrors. So yeah, I'll swap those out for the Enfield touring mirrors, I think, which just look nicer, or some aftermarket ones anyway. I don't like the way that these sort of stalk upwards here. They work fine, a little bit of vibration in them, but otherwise they're perfectly functional. Talking of vibration, it being a single cylinder engine, you can feel a little bit of vibration through the seat, the pegs and the handlebars, but nothing excessive at all. I'd put that down to character. It's not enough to put you off the bike, and it being a single cylinder machine, you'd expect it to have a few vibrations. I'm absolutely fine with that. Gearbox on the bike seems absolutely fine. I haven't had any false neutrals or any issues with it. The gearbox itself feels quite good. The clutch has got quite a long reach on it, and is, for this day and age, relatively stiff. It's not stiff. I mean, it's not hard to use. It's not adjustable or anything like that. I find it a bit of a reach. And the only other thing I guess about the gearbox is first gear is quite short. It's really just a gear to get you rolling, and then you're off. But that's just the nature of the engine, I guess. But yeah, the gearbox and clutch is fine on here. Alright, let's jump off the bike again. I'll take you through the spec.
All right, let's take a look at the spec sheet, shall we, then, on the Scram 411. Starting off with the engine, which puts out 24.3 brake horsepower at 6,500 RPM. It's a 411cc unit, hence Scram 411. Air-cooled as well, which I like. You can see it's got a little oil cooler over there on the right, but no radiator for liquid cooling. Puts out 32 newton meters of torque at 4,500 RPM. So this bike ain't going to win any races, but it's ample if you want to do a bit of green laning or riding around the lanes like I've been doing today. Absolutely fine. Feels about the same sort of power as my old Honda CRF 250L, for example, and it is very similar actually. Wheels on here, this is where it departs from the original Himalayan. This one has the 19-inch front wheel, whereas the Himalayan has the 21 and a 17-inch rear. So the geometry has changed a little bit. It's got a 300mm brake disc on the front, just a single brake disc, but it works fine. And it's got a two-pot bi-brake caliper on there as well, which again works fine. Little bash plate under there I've just noticed as well. Suspension wise on the front, 41mm telescopic fork with 190mm of travel. On the back, the suspension's got 180mm of travel and it's got a monoshock linkage in there. Seat height on here, very manageable, 795mm, so a little bit lower, in fact, than the Himalayan. And the weight of the bike, 185 kilograms dry. So not super light for a single, but it feels physically a fairly large bike, so that weight's not too bad. The tank capacity on here, 15 litres. Expect very frugal running on this bike. I imagine the range on here would be pretty good. I haven't run a tank dry yet, so I don't know. Electronics-wise, nothing really. It's got two-channel ABS on it, of course. And it's got that tripper navigation device that we've seen before on other Enfields, which I generally like, although I've had some trouble with it this time around. Price-wise, we've not yet been told what the price of this bike's going to be, but we are expecting it to be below the Himalayan, which starts at 4,699 and finishes at 5,399, depending on the model you get. So I'm expecting this to be around £5,000, which is absolutely incredible value. The bike has been launched with an array of official Royal Enfield accessories, so you can make the bike your own, and lots of great colourways as well. I like the white flame best, which is the red and white bike, although this looks good in the flesh too. Yeah, so there we go. That's the spec. Let's jump back on, ride us some more.
Okay, welcome back aboard Himalayan Scram 411, to give it its full title. Handling wise, it takes its bends nicely actually. As I mentioned before, the suspension is its weak point. I think it does get a bit out of shape quite soon. If you hit a bump on a corner, the back end goes around a bit, but actually it feels nice through these curves. Royal Enfield badged this as a bike that's suitable for people in the urban environment but want to take it away at weekends to do a little bit of off-roading, and I think it would be absolutely perfect for that. I think in the urban environment it would be great because you feel quite upright on here. You're quite high up on the bike, so you can see over traffic, no problem at all, to work out where you're going, and filtering would be a breeze. These big wide handlebars, and again because you're sat high up, it's a really nice place to be. I think Royal Enfield have played a blinder with the colour schemes once again on the bike. The styling on it, as you saw, is absolutely top notch. Is this bike the best Royal Enfield yet? Well, I don't think it is the best Royal Enfield yet because of those things that I showed you. The fit and finish isn't quite up there with the likes of the Meteor or the Interceptor. I don't know why that is. The original Himalayan wasn't quite up there with those bikes either, and this is no different. A little disappointed in those welds and the finish on the exhaust in particular. But if the bike comes in at a reasonable price, and I'm expecting sub £5,000, then this is an awful lot of bike for that money. And if you compare it with things like that Herald Brute 500 I rode recently, this is, I think, a much better option. It just feels overall better put together than that. And at nearly £2,000 less expected, we don't know what the price is yet, then this is a brilliant proposition. If you're in the market for a good value bike that you can take off-road as well as ride around town, then this absolutely hits the spot. I think this really could be a competitor for things like the Honda CB500X, the Honda CRF 250L, if you like the look of this sort of retro fusion type of thing that's going on. And I really do like the looks of it, whereas I didn't like the looks of the Himalayan, which was just a bit too functional for my liking. I know it appealed to some people. This is a pretty looking bike, particularly in that red and white colour scheme that they do it in. So no, I don't think it's the best Royal Enfield yet, but it's certainly a very good one. And compared to other bikes in this part of the market, it's definitely the best there, I think. So there we go. Hope you've enjoyed that first ride review on the bike. I've really enjoyed riding it. I've only got the bike for a few more days. I'm hoping to get out and take the bike off-road, do a green lane if I can. So if you're interested in the Scram 411, stick around, stay tuned to the channel. I'll try and bring you that video if I can. No guarantees. Bit busy over the next few days, but I'll see what I can do. Do leave your comments below. Any observations, anything you think I've missed on the bike, anything you agree or disagree. I'd be fascinated to hear from you. And if this is your first time along to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I don't just do bike reviews here on the channel, but I do monthly bike news. I do bits and pieces about how to look after your bike. I do bike tours, more of those coming soon hopefully. The odd live stream, anything and everything to do with motorcycles. It would be great to have you along. Alright, so that's it from a beautiful sunny Buckinghamshire. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. Flyer. Cheerio.
Gosh, it's such a lovely day out here today. I thought I'd do you a little bit of a bonus fashion segment, because people always ask me what is the kit that you're wearing on these reviews. So I thought I'd just quickly talk you through that, but just also to let you know where I am doing this bit of the review. Look at this view. I'm in Buckinghamshire in the Chilterns. Absolutely beautiful day here with the rolling hills. And this behind me is what's known as Hampden House, which used to be the headquarters of the Hammer House of Horror. Do you remember that series from the 80s? I think it was on Friday nights on ITV, wasn't it? And it used to frighten me as a kid. But yeah, that's where it was based. Diana Dawes, people like that used to act in there, and that, as I say, was the headquarters of Hammer House of Horror. Anyway, I digress. Right, so the kit that I'm wearing then, the jacket is from Segura. I can't remember the exact model. I'll put details below and some links below to all the stuff that I'm wearing, so you've got that. This I like because it's sort of retro looking and goes with the style of the Scram 411 that's sat over there. And the great thing about this is it comes with this sort of check shirt as well, which you can wear individually off the bike, which I really like. So I'll put links below to the jacket. The jeans I'm wearing are my PMJ jeans. These are AAA rated, so the best AA rating you can get for jeans. I've just find them really, really comfortable, and they look good as well. And then the boots I'm wearing are from Falco. Again, a sort of a retro style, plenty of protection in there. I like the fact that they've actually got a zip, which makes them easy to get on and off, as well as the laces, and I just think they look cool as well. I think it's important to look right for the bike that you're riding. Anyway, what I'll do is stick links below to all these at Sports Bike Shop if you want to buy online, or if you want to actually try them on and find your local stockist, then I'll put a link to bikeheads.co.uk below as well. If you check out their website, you can see all the prices of this kit, and it'll tell you where your local stockist is. All right, that's it for now. Speak to you again soon.